What's up, everybody? I'm back. I fixed the chair, so hopefully I am a little bit more visible this time. But we're back with another story video. This is one that I wanted to do for a little while. It's kind of like a prequel to a bigger story video that I am going to do once this week is over, as far as classes and stuff. Maybe next Monday, so you should probably see that video as early as next week. We'll see. But this is like a little prequel to it, a little set of kind of like the Cabin Stories video as a branch off of the Cub Scout Stories video. This is a video talking about me working a trap shooting event. So brace yourselves. This was a weekend to remember in all the wrong ways. So why was I working a trap shooting event? Well, it was for a DI fundraiser. Hint, hint, is what the topic of the big story video is going to be. But we were fundraising for our global finals event, and this popped up, and we realized we could make some pretty good money out of it working this for a weekend. But why not? Get a bunch of people together, and we did it. Now, what is a trap shooting event? A lot of people you're wondering that right now. Actually, my demographic probably knows what a trap shooting event is. If anybody's ever participated in one of those, or heard about them at least, or worked one, comment down below your experiences. I'd love to hear them. But what they are is like teams of people, like groups of people, usually like friends or family. They'll enter this. It's like a tournament, and what will happen is it's over course of 2 days, and they will line up and they will aim their gun. They'll have guns, like actual guns, and they will point them at discs that are flying through the air via a machine that launches them in the air, and then they shoot their gun, and they try and hit the disc, and you hit the disc, you get the point, or whatever. I don't know what the scoring system, remember completely, but and then you just keep doing that through a certain set of rounds, like 4 people per group, I think it was. So pretty crazy. And I'm not big into guns, and so if it wasn't for us needing money for the DI event, I would have never even been close to showing up for this. And I didn't know what to expect going in. We had no clue what we were going to be doing here at this event. We had no idea what it was all about. We were just kind of in for the ride, and there was probably a pretty good reason why they didn't tell us that. We figured that out pretty early on. But let's start with day one, Saturday. This took place on my birthday weekend, also, by the way, I should mention. So that was a fun way to spend a birthday weekend in this trap shooting event. And my party the previous night, the party was a disaster because we were going to go to Speedway, and Speedway was not hosting a race that night. They canceled it because of cold, because of bad weather. It was 40 degrees. They could have ran the race anyways. No rain or anything like that. So we went bowling instead, which I guess wasn't. It was still pretty fun, but it wasn't as fun as it was going to be, which sucks. But and then we come to this, and so day one we get there, and it's like cloudy, it's like misty, and whatever. And we pull up to this place, and this place is in the middle of frickin' nowhere. Let's run this down, okay? This place is in the middle of nowhere. You pull off the road, and you go down this dirt road. It's a long dirt road, and it's like you're going to a NASCAR race or something, because you're passing all these campers and like these trees and whatever on those dirt roads, and very narrow dirt road too. I remember all these people are driving big trucks, so they're taking up the whole road as they go along. So we're trying to navigate through that, and we eventually, there's a big parking lot, and we pull in, it's all dirt again, and we pull up to like this main central building, which wasn't even that big. And we get our assignment, we figure out where we're going to go, and you walk along, and all of the stations, I think these stations covered, I remember, I think it was like 7 or 8 like actual shooting centers, and the main hub for each of the stations was a little gazebo, and then you had the stands that where you sit on and stuff, and I'll get into those a little bit later. And then you had the place where the machine was that launched the discs, and then the main hub is each of the gazebos. So we go down and we find our group, and we all meet up at this gazebo, and the lady comes up who's managing our group. She's from Ohio, and she's got a couple of her kids with her, and they were going to run this group. She was going to pay us and everything as well, which And so she introduces herself. There was other people there as well. It was the group, and there was us, and then there was a smaller group of people that I knew from school. So it was cool to talk with them for a little while. And then, but she goes down what we're going to do. And basically, what we were going to do, we were going to score, and we were going to man the disc launching stations. I remember being so excited about wanting to man the disc loading station, load the discs and like shoot the gun or whatever. No, we didn't actually shoot the machine. The machine was voice activated, which was really cool. But we had to reload the discs each time. I was really excited about doing that until I learned you had to be 16, and I was 15, or I just turned 16. I had just turned 16, so I wasn't able to do it yet. So that sucked. You know, I really wanted to do that, and I couldn't, and because I was too young. And Eli was there. Eli was there too. Darkholme 7. He can attest. He was too young as well. So we got stuck with manning the scoring tables, and we got to do scoring. So that was a lot of fun to do that. As we would figure out, I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to mess up. I thought loading the disc station would be a lot more simple and easy. And also I could be in a secluded area and I get to work with a big machine. I thought that was going to be the greatest thing ever. Apparently that was not going to be the case, because I'll get into later. I probably dodged a bullet, both literally and figuratively, by not working the disc loading stations. We'll get to that a little bit later. But then eventually we have to get like figuring out how we're going to do this. And I did not get a lot of training on how to score these things. But thankfully it was pretty simple. You had this sheet, and every time they hit the disc, you marked an X, and you said, and you didn't say anything when it happened, but if they missed, you didn't mark the box, and you said lost, so that they knew that they had missed. And I thought that was pretty cool. And whenever they were calling the disc, they would say call, like yell it really loud, say call, and it would launch the disc. Again, voice activated. Pretty cool for an event like this. But you look around, I'm talking about the facility again, look around the whole thing. It is trees, RVs, porta potties, trees. I mean, there's trees everywhere. An open field where the discs would be and stuff like that. And that is crazy. crazy. You just feel secluded in the middle of nowhere. Surprisingly, we had okay cell reception, which I was not expecting. But other than the gazebo, we had really no shade cover at all, which was a little bit weird. But so we got there and we split into groups, and I kind of learned how to do that. The pencils, by the way, for scoring these things were horrible. You know those pencils that they have at like building centers, you know, like Lowe's or whatever, to mark stuff down, and they're like the rectangle ones that like long and flat, and they have the really flat dull like tips of them on the pencils. Yeah, that's what we had to use, and they didn't work out that well, but thankfully they didn't break, because there's no pencil sharpeners anywhere. So that made it kind of hard to write the X's down, and they had to write their names down, and you had to write your name down. So that was a little hard, but hey, you know, you could tolerate it. It was tolerable compared to other stuff that we had to do, but yeah, we had to manage these stations. So the people rotated, the teams of the participants rotated. We did not rotate, and we kind of just stood up there for as long as we were supposed to be. These events, by the way, went for about 7 hours. I think it was 8 hours actually that the tournament went for. I think it started at 9. I want to say it started at 9 or 10. It went to about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, which is a long time. That for working that long, and we were getting paid for it. Nowadays, with my job, I wouldn't care about that too much, especially what I would have to do. It probably would have been a lot more easy, but back then, I mean, I didn't have a job. The only job I really had, well, I don't even think I had a job back then. It was before I started cleaning an office for $50 a week. I didn't even have that job yet. It's my first job. Guys, it's my first job. Sitting up on a stand, marking off gunshots for 8 hours. Oh my God. It's crazy. But then the event actually starts, and I didn't know what to expect out of the people that were actually participating in this event. I'd already kind of seen, we all looked around each other. Everybody in our group kind of looked around at each other like, we're kind of on our own, aren't we? The lady running the thing was not very bright. She didn't really know what she was doing, it seemed like. It seemed like she had experience because she talked about other events and stuff like that. Her children were doing a better job than she was at running everything, and she was smoking all the time as well. They were the typical Southerner. They had the boots, they had the jeans, they had the construction worker neon shirts, they had the tan, they had the look, they had the talk, they had the attitude, they had the smoker, they had the big eater, they had the gun liking, they had everything. They were from Ohio, so I guess that's the North's best representation of the South. So that was weird. And it smelled of smoke too. I remember that. Oh God, it was making it hard to get close to her. She didn't really even interact with anybody. She tried a couple of times, and she was really bad at it. And either she just gave up or she didn't care. She was just like trying for publicity stunts or whatever. I don't know. But we didn't really interact with her that much, which was weird. But now let's get to, so we got the whole setup down, and stuff. And now let's start talking about the events. So everybody went to the disc stations, and then we went to, I think they played the national anthem over a very crappy loudspeaker. We could barely hear the national anthem. They played it, and then they start the event. And everybody went to their dismanning stations. We'll get back to those a little bit later, but I go up to my scorer stand. Sorry for my squeaky chair, by the way. I don't know how to fix that. But I go up to the stand, and I go. The ladder for this thing was very rickety. It was very hard to climb up. It was narrow, and I thought it was going to break. I was a pretty big guy still then, fresh 16-year-old. Not as big as I am now. I'm not huge, am I, people? I mean, come on. Still, though, I thought I was going to collapse under that, but thankfully I didn't. And I get up to the seat, and it was a tight desk, so I had to kind of like get situated, get my clipboard with the paper down there, because I had to carry it all up the ladder myself, because these things are super high up in the air. Some of them had coverings on them to protect you from the shade. Not me. Not most of them didn't. Some of them did. A couple in our group did. I never got to use one of those, which sucked, but it's whatever. When the clouds were out, it was manageable to see them. The sun came out, it was still pretty easy to see them, but still we get to and now the event starts, and I didn't know what to expect of these people. I didn't know what to expect, like their their attitude, their demographics. Like, it was a pretty big age range. We had kids like 8 years old all the way up to like 85 participating in this. I did not expect that wide of an age range. I thought they would like restrict it to like maybe 18 up. No, there's like freaking 6 and 8-year-olds participating in this thing, actually shooting guns. Like a family hierarchy. How is that allowed? Because of all the violence and everything. Even back then, this was 2019, by the way. I don't know if I talked about that. May 2019. So 3 years ago about now that this happened. And there was just so much violence the way the kids shooting off the guns. I hope they regulate that. But this is the most southern event that you could possibly find in the north. And so I doubt there's little regulation there. For sure. But we start this event, and people come up, and they get loaded up, and they make sure I'm ready. And then we go, and they call. Like, these gunshots are making me blink and hesitate and like freaking out, and I have to also make sure that I'm watching the disc and making sure they hit the disc. I gotta mark it down. If they miss, then I gotta say lost. It was more complicated than it sounds because of the gunshots. And eventually I got used to it, but it was crazy because these people, because if you failed at any point, oh my, if they thought you made the wrong call, oh my, that they get pissed. And some of them did. Some of them got really pissed, and they would turn around, they would stop the whole thing, turn around, and just tell you, "Hey, that's not the right call, buddy." I'm like, "Well, that didn't look like the saw to me," but I didn't really care. I'm like, "Okay, I'll mark it down anyways," or whatever. Because I was like, "Okay, I'll mark it down." I didn't really care. I was just up for the money. I don't really care about the accuracy of the event. I want to help him win. I'll help him win. I'm not gonna fight it on anything. So I they got him down, marked him down, and boom, you're done. It went by. It looks like it's gonna take a while, but it goes by pretty quick. Surprisingly, I think they all get. I think 4 people in the group, 10 shots, I think it was, and so 40 in total. So it wasn't horribly long, but not short either. And then you got the controversial calls and then the loudness and stuff like that, and they gotta sign your thing, and then you gotta wait for the next group to come around and all that kind of stuff. And they handed you your own paper and stuff like that, so you had to make sure you sign the thing and initial that. And I mean, you're kind of stuck. When you're up there, you're kind of stuck. You just have to kind of go with the flow. You can't care about how long you've been up there. You can't care about really anything else. You just had to be up there doing your job. I couldn't even look over most of the time to see if how other people were doing, because I was so I had to be so focused on exactly what I needed to do. And so that was a little nerve-wracking for me. I have pretty good concentration levels, and I have pretty good focus levels, I like to think sometimes. But that level was too much for me. It was not really much I could do at that point. I couldn't throw a fit, because it's country land. I would be exiled, but still, I mean, come on. Give me a break here. Some people were nice. Some people were considerate that this was my first time that I was a kid, and I didn't really know what I was doing the whole time. So they were helping me out, and so that was nice. Some of those people were really nice. Some of them didn't really talk to me at all, because they were kids or they were really old and they didn't care. But some of them were very vocal. And I guess that's what you kind of get in an event like this. It's such a wide age range. I guess you kind of just have to go with the flow. With how people are going to react to different things, because some of the calls were really close. You could maybe tell that the wind might have knocked it, but does that count? I don't know. I was just here for the money, people. I'm not an expert on this. I still am not. And some people failed to realize that, and that kind of sucked. But then sometimes though, you didn't have to run a station because you were getting near to like a lunch break or whatever. So you kind of just got to sit down and chat with people. That was pretty nice. Got to do that. And the sun came out. It was very sunny both days. It's talking about how it was cloudy at the beginning of the first day, but it wasn't. But after a little while, it got pretty sunny. So I was texting, stuff like that, and getting to do stuff. And eventually we got a lunch break, and we got to go eat food, and then we get to go for the second session, do the same thing over again. I was a little bit more confident this time because I knew what I was doing. So now let's talk about these trap shooting gun holsters thingamahoover. Let's talk about those. The effects of them were pretty evident at the start. My grandpa was working one of them because he helped us out on this event. And he was working one of the disc things because, of course, he's over the age of 16. And he looked a lot different going out of that thing than when he came in it. He said it was very compacted and there wasn't really a nice, comfortable way to sit down. And it got hot in there because even though it was shaded, it was still hot in there because there was no ventilation. And he had brought a jacket because it was cold at the start of the day. And he said the conditions were just absolutely miserable and you were stuck there. People could just leave you there. You couldn't see when you're sitting on top of the things, even on top of the score stands or in the gazebos or whatever, you cannot see into them because the opening is behind it. You could just be left there. No way anybody could ever come find you. and that was quite crazy. Luckily, that didn't happen, but it made me very grateful that I didn't have to work those things, because that would have been very bad. I would have cramped up so bad, and that would have sucked. And so that was bad. And then one of the big things that we had to do in between sessions and afterwards was clean up the bullet shells. And these things were sometimes very hot. They were very hot to touch. And they like casing, like the red and gold bullet casings. And we had to clean them up. And then we could, like, I don't know what we did with them afterwards. Kind of just took them away. But we had to just basically clean them up off of the thing. And I didn't notice I didn't think about this at the time, but they left like a black residue on our hands afterwards, and we had to clean our hands off. By the way, no sanitation in this place whatsoever. You were lucky to find a porta potty, let alone a sink, hand sanitizer, anything of that sort. You were lucky to find the basics, like the lowest basics at all. At least in NASCAR races, you can find like toilets and food and stuff like that pretty quick, easily. Same thing with like, I don't know what else to compare it to. I could compare this really only to a NASCAR race. It was loud, a lot of old people, Southerners. That's pretty much it. And some kids like me. But this time I was working the event, not participating. Working in the event. Not a fan either. There were fans though, by the way. There were people that just sat and watched. I guess I think most of them though were people that were waiting to go. Like they hadn't started yet, so they brought up like their lawn chairs and just sat there. And again, people traveled from all over the Midwest, mainly Indiana, Ohio. I think there were some Wisconsin people there. I think Pennsylvania too. So there were people from all over the Midwest and even the course of the East Coast, that people came to this event. And just why, I don't know. I don't see the interest, and I don't see the interest in it. Like, I would rather go to a soccer event than this, because at least those have some sort of interesting level to them, especially when you're there. At a trap shooting event, you really don't have that. I don't know what's because there's not like any crowd reactions at all, which makes me again think that they were just participants waiting to go, because there was little to no cheering whatsoever. So that was weird. I mean, it was not like stadium crowd levels, like just people in lawn chairs again, like I said. But back to these bullet casings, they were hot too. Like some of them, you had to watch out when you touched them, because they'd be hot. Even if you're sitting there for like an hour or so, you had to make sure that they didn't burn your hands or whatever. They left this like black residue, and they were everywhere. Like, holy crap, they were everywhere. You had to scour the entire area looking for them. You'd find them in some of the weirdest places, under trees, in trees, and grass, like a mile, like 50 feet away. Some of them near the disc launching spot. Near benches, they find them everywhere. It was insane. And it's all dirt paths and grass and stuff like that. Come prepared for that. But I think it might not sound as bad now as I experienced it, because we did not know any of this going in. We got no rundown on what we were doing until we started. We got no description, no anything of the sorts. We didn't even know how much we were being paid. We did get paid, but we didn't know how much we were getting paid. So a lot of red flags came up very early on in this, and they carried over into a lot of stressful sort of events. And I can't really do much about that, but it's just a little sketchy, to be honest with you. But the first day eventually concluded, and I got a pretty good suntan. Well, suntan. I don't tan. You can see right here I work today. It was nice out. You can see I kind of burn. I don't really tan very well. I burnt, and I was pretty burnt, but that was okay. I'm not too worried about it. But that will carry over until a little bit later in the video. Was the sunburn, and I was dreading going back the second day. Oh my god, it was gonna be so tiring, because I was exhausted after the first day. you're on when you're not, unless you're sitting in the stands. By the way, that seat wasn't even comfortable, so you're still sore getting out of those. And you can be sitting on the benches and stuff, and they were okay. Or you're just walking around. Like, I would usually just walk up and down the thing with people talking, and so my feet were tired by the end of the day, and I had to get up and do it all again tomorrow morning. I'm like, seriously, how can people do this every week in these spaces? The second day we had less help too. A bunch of the people that came the first day couldn't do it the second day. With me, my dad, my grandpa, and another group of people from another set of people from that previous day, as well as the other group that wasn't even associated with us. They showed up again for the second day. And again, it was just the same thing. The sun was out more, and it was warmer, and do it all over again. And oh boy, that was tiring. It was hot too, I remember, and you had to make sure everybody was hydrated, they were making sure water, and the gunshots were just so loud because they're right in your face, right? And sometimes they would go off, either they would go off simultaneously, like one big boom, or they go off boom, 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 because you look down that way, or you look down that way. I mean, they were everywhere. There were stands all across the whole thing. I'm like, come on, people. How many stands of this crap do you need? And we were near the end, too. But it was so hot. Holy moly. Good burn, though. But I did a lot more scoring. And I was a little bit more confident the second day because I knew what I was doing. It just dragged on forever. Because I think that was partially because there was nobody there to talk to. But it just dragged on forever. And it was so... and we were just burning up, and Eli didn't come for the second day, so he can't vouch. He cannot justify this. We socialized with the other people in our group a little bit more. We were able to walk around and enjoy the facilities they had, which wasn't really anything. Yeah, crazy. Now the sunburn. This is the lasting residue effect that I had from that adventure, because we got Wendy's for dinner, went home, and we were baked. I was burnt to a crisp. My grandpa had busted his knee. He actually had to have a cane for a little while because of that. That eventually went away. My dad was tired. I was tired because I had to go back to school the next day as well, and I was not ready for it. I was burnt to a crisp. Holy crap. I had not worn sunscreen. That's totally not the reason why. It was totally not for me wearing sunscreen. It was totally the Trapshooting event's fault that happened. But my God, I was so burnt. I got in the shower that night, and I'm putting this cold water on my body. Like, it's on my arms. I wore pants, so thankfully my legs were okay. But my arms and my face and the back of my neck especially were just cooked. And I remember getting in the shower, and I am washing cold water on my arm, and my arm is literally glowing red. That's how burnt it was. That has never happened before or since. It was glowing red. I don't know what my face or my neck looked like, but my arms were glowing red. That's how burnt they were. And it was painful. I know I've had many sunburns, and I bet anybody else who's had a sunburn can attest to this. It is so painful to have a sunburn like that. Try and put water on, or try and just even sit down or move. It's painful. And that's the only time I ever peeled. That wasn't fun either. Because it came off in sections, it came off in waves, and it took about a week for that to finally clear up. And then I had like a little bit of a tan left over from that. My God, that was horrendous. And I remember I went to English class the next day, and a bunch of people commented on how burnt I was. Like, what the hell did you do over the weekend? You are burnt to a crisp. Like, I worked a trap shooting event. I bet you don't know what that is. And I quite frankly don't either. Even 3 years later, don't even know what it is. I'm never going to do that again. We got offered to do it the very next weekend, I think. And I think there was another one near us the next weekend, and they were like, do you want to do it? And we've quite frankly said, we all said in unison, no, we did not want to do it again. They actually think they offered that we could do it next year. The next year never came because of the pandemic. Got it canceled, I think. I don't know. We didn't really care at that point. We were not going to go out and do this, especially during a pandemic, especially at all. And the rest is history. We got the money, though. I heard it was a pretty good amount, but it all went towards our global finals appearance that year, which I will talk about more in a video about DI that will be coming out soon. So I'm going to have to work on that and get that out probably next week is when I hope to get it out. Might be the week after. We'll see. So just stay tuned, guys. And I hope you like this story. If you have anything similar about like a trap shooting event or some other gun event and you worked it or you participated in it or you hosted one or whatever, I'd love to hear your stories, comments down below. And stay tuned for much more amazing content, stories, gaming, other stuff like that. Till next time, I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.